Hi, I'm just going to share a short yoga routine that you can do if you wake up in the middle of the night and want to fall back asleep. This can also be done before bed or really anytime you want to relax, but it's specifically for helping with sleep. So, you're going to need some props for this. A yoga blanket is perfect, but you could also use some cushions, pillows if you don't have a yoga blanket. Optional, a kind of a weighted pillow. This one is filled with buckwheat hulls. You could use a sandbag if you have that. Yoga block, and something like a chair, bed, or couch. Something about the height of a seat. All right, let's get started. So first thing we're gonna do is Ujjayi breathing, and this breathing exercise just helps to slow down our mind, calm our thoughts. So for Ujjayi breathing, you want to close your eyes and think of how you hold your throat when you're trying to fog up a mirror or a pane of glass. So it's that kind of like, do that a couple times. And when you do that, feel how the back of your throat feels. You'll feel a little tightening in the back of your throat. So you want to keep that tightening in the back of the throat and just breathe normally through the nose. I don't know if you can hear me. You should make like a little snoring sound or like a sound like the ocean. But again, if you can't quite get it, don't really worry about it too much. It's just a way to extend the breath, and it can take a little bit of practice. So we're going to do a few breaths like that, and again, if you can't quite get it or you're not sure, just do some deep breathing into your belly, and that will help as well. So we'll just do 5 breaths. So throughout this routine, if you want to come back to that breath, optional again, but it's a great way to help your mind slow down. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to be using the chair. Again, you could use bed, couch for this, anything that's about the same height as a seat. And I'm going to put a blanket on this because it's hard. I just want to make it a little softer. And what we're going to do is bend down and rest the forehead, and you can also use your arms or use your hands, but you just want to rest your forehead on that support and kind of coming into a modified downward dog. So we're just pulling the hips back and allowing the upper body to be really relaxed. So your legs are straight here. You could even take your feet back a little if that feels good. And you're just straightening the upper body, pulling the hips back, but not with a lot of effort, just a slight pull back. And the upper body is relaxed. Having this pressure on the forehead helps to calm the mind. So you want to make sure your forehead is completely and comfortably supported. If you need to add cushions, blocks, and you just hold here, you can do Ujjayi breathing again. All right, we can come up from that. And I'm just gonna take the chair off. We won't need it anymore. So the next pose is reclining bound angle pose. And I'm gonna roll my blanket up for this one, so if you have a bolster, you could use that instead, or some cushions. You're gonna put that, so you just need something about the length of your spine. You're gonna put that behind you. You're gonna sit with your feet together and your knees apart. If you're really tight in your inner thighs, you might also want something to go under your knees, like a cushion or a block, just to not overstretch the inner thighs. But again, that's optional. And then you just lie down over your spinal support. And you can have your hands by your sides, or you could place one hand on your heart, one hand on your abdomen. Sometimes having this just slight pressure on the body is also can be very calming. And if you have your hands by your sides, turn your palms upwards so your shoulders can roll back, and that helps to stretch this upper back, neck, shoulder area, which is a high tension area for a lot of people. So again, we're going to do deep breathing. And if you are feeling a lot of tension in the inner thighs or hips, then you will want some support under the knees. And just a few more breaths. Again, you can do your ujjayi breathing or just deep breathing into the belly. Let's bring the knees together. And sit up. And the next pose is a side lying position. You can just use your same props that you had under your spine. We're going to just turn it the other way. And this is going to go under the waist. And you're going to use a block. So I'm lying on my right side first. You could do either side first. But I'm going to just take this rolled blanket right under my right side waist. Knees bent and stacked, one on top of the other. If you've got pain in your hips, or just if this doesn't feel comfortable, you could also put a pillow between the knees. I'm going to take the block, and you're going to place the block in your right hand, and you want it at the medium height, and then place your left hand on top. And this is just to keep the hands and shoulders separated so you don't have rounding forward in your shoulders. But sometimes people have told me that the shoulders can be uncomfortable this way, and if that's the case for you, what you can do is just take the block and put it under your head, or a cushion under your head, and just have your arms at shoulder height. So that's an option. So once you're in that position, then you're just going to close your eyes again and relax. Now this pose really opens up the flow of our lymphatic system, and I don't know if that's why, but I always feel so sleepy when I do this pose. So it should really help you get ready to sleep again. And while you're holding the pose, you can breathe deep and just think about the sides of your body stretching. So in our everyday lives, we so rarely stretch our sides, and it's really important to stretch your sides. Because we have a lot of lymph nodes all along the sides of our body. And stretching those areas helps that to flow without obstruction. So a few more deep breaths. If you want to, if this is feeling good to you, you could hold it longer, but we're trying to keep this routine short. I'm going to go ahead and in a few more breaths, I'll switch to the other side. I'm just going to do 3 more breaths. gonna go ahead and switch sides. And just lie down. Same exact thing on the other side. So blanket is under the left side, holding my block between my hands. And again, you could put the block under the head instead. And just deep breathing, letting the side stretch. Close your eyes. Doing the Ujjayi breathing if that feels good. All right, so we're going to release the pose. Take the block off to one side. Take your time sitting up. You want to stay relaxed, so we don't need to rush it. All right, and we're going to just leave this prop exactly where it is and lie down with it under the lower abdomen, so the area below the belly button. And you can rest your head on your forehead, your forehead on your hands. This is just giving us a little compression in the belly, and sometimes the Vata dosha, Vata's air and space, it tends to accumulate in the large intestine, and Vata dosha, if you remember, the air and space, that's the one that is related to movement. And when it's not balanced, we can feel very ungrounded, which can contribute to light sleep or difficulty falling asleep, waking up in the night. And so by putting this pressure on the belly, we help to calm that Vata dosha down. So you want to take deep breaths so that your belly presses on the blanket. There's a fly buzzing around you. Anyways, deep breathing. You could do the Ujjayi breathing, but just make sure, whether you're doing Ujjayi breathing or just deep breathing, make sure that you're breathing so your belly expands a little and presses against your props. And you want to really feel that compression. It's great for massaging your internal organs and relieving excess Vata. All right, again, you could hold that one longer, but I'm just gonna move on to keep this short. And next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do legs up the wall. You could do this on a chair or a couch or a bed as well, but you're just gonna come and sit really close to the vertical surface, just a few inches away. And then turn around and lie down. And if you want to use your, if you have a weighted pillow or a sandbag or anything like that, an optional thing is to put it on your feet. Can be a little tricky to get it in place, but that again can be very grounding. Just feeling that weight on the feet. If you don't like it or it doesn't feel right, it's totally optional. You put your hands by your sides with your palms up, and I just want to mention that in this pose we don't want to feel like a ton of stretching on the legs. I mean, of course it's okay for them to stretch a little, but that's not the point of the pose. So if you're feeling a lot of stretching in your legs and you're really close to the wall, you could just scoot away from it a little bit. Although we do want to be close enough that we feel support from the wall. So kind of a happy medium. And hands can be by your sides, or you could place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. And again, of course, deep breathing. And I want to mention about lighting. So I have the lights on, of course, so that you can see me, but you know, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're trying to get back to sleep, or if you're just trying to, you know, get ready to go to bed, dimming the lights is super helpful because bright lights do have an effect on our hormones and can keep us awake. So you could do this by candlelight, or you know, just make sure that you have dim lights when you do this. And I'm just gonna stay here and take a couple more deep breaths. All right, and to come out of it, you can just gently bring your feet down the wall. Take your props up, roll onto your side, and we don't want to come up too quickly from that pose. Just stay on your side for a few breaths. And then go ahead and sit up. So if you're feeling nice and relaxed and ready for bed, you can just stop here. Otherwise, I'm going to mention a couple of other things that can be really helpful to do to help you fall asleep. So one reason for ungroundedness or difficulty sleeping can be dehydration, and simply drinking some water. You want to make sure it's warm or room temperature, not cold water, because cold water is going to disturb vata. But warm or room temperature water, and maybe even with just a little bit of some sea salt or pink salt sprinkled in it, just like a pinch of salt in a glass of water, to give you some electrolytes. That can be super helpful to help you fall asleep. The other thing is some oil or ghee, and you can simply take that, rub it on your feet, and you know, your whole foot, like the sole of the foot and everything. You can do your little foot massage. You can also take it and rub it around the eyes, not in your eye, but around the ridge, so like the eye socket. So around the eyebrows and below the eyes, just dab it on, and you don't want to do a lot of rubbing there, but just gently press and getting some oil into those areas. And the third place you want to put it is the top of your head, right at the crown of your head, and you can do 12 clockwise circles, just rubbing it in. It's super calming for your brain. And then you can also take it on the temples, a little ghee or oil, and do 12 circles right on the temple, and then 12 circles the other way, right on the temple. And make sure that you are not too hot, not too cold, temperature's good, lights are off. Get in bed, and you can take some melatonin as well, as long as it's at least 3 hours until the time you have to get up, because if it's too close, that might make you groggy when you get up. All right, so that's it, and sleep well.